Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. The night was quiet, but inside one apartment, something terrible was happening. The walls would hold a dark secret, a crime so horrifying that it would take months for the truth to surface. Shannon Graves had no idea that this night would be her last. At first, no one realized she was missing. Days turned into weeks, and life went on as usual, except for those who knew her best. They sensed something was wrong. Where had Shannon gone? Why wasn't she answering her phone? The more they searched for answers, the more unsettling the truth became. It wasn't just a disappearance. It was something far worse. A story of lies, jealousy, and a desperate attempt to erase someone from existence. But justice has a way of catching up, and soon the shocking truth will begin to unravel. Shannon Graves was born on November 4th, 1988, in Ohio, USA. She was the daughter of Christine Graves, a single mother who later rebuilt her life with a man named Ronnie. From that point on, Ronnie took on the role of Shannon's father, treating her as if she were his own biological child. Shannon, in turn, made it easy for him. Anyone who knew her could see that she had a kind soul and a heart full of love. In 2016, Shannon earned her cosmetology license, a milestone she was thrilled about. To her, it wasn't just a career opportunity, it also symbolized a fresh start after a challenging youth. Her friends affectionately called her Star, and she stood out for her free spirit, honesty, and selflessness. However, her compassionate nature often led her to make unfortunate choices, particularly when it came to relationships and substance use, issues that worsened after the passing of her mother. Some of her closest friends noted that she had a tendency to fall for the wrong men, whether it was due to bad luck or an irresistible attraction to rebellious types. Despite these struggles, Shannon was determined to take charge of her life. With her hard-earned professional achievement, she felt ready to leave the past behind and focus on a brighter future. Those who knew her well, including Ronnie and her friends, could attest to her resilience and strength. Unfortunately, her instincts betrayed her when she became involved with Arturo Novoa. Arturo, originally from Puerto Rico, was charismatic and had a passion for music, but he was also extremely private about his personal life. That secrecy likely stemmed from his extensive criminal record, which dated back to 2004 when he was arrested for assault and property damage. Months later, he faced charges for escaping prison and obstructing official duties. By 2006, he was charged with felony fleeing after a police chase, followed by an aggravated arson charge later that year. After serving time, he was again arrested in 2008 for trespassing after being evicted from his residence. In 2010, he faced weapons and unlawful entry charges. Court records painted a picture of a man deeply entrenched in criminal activity, making ends meet through illegal means. When Shannon and Arturo started dating in the summer of 2016, things seemed to go well. She eventually introduced him to her loved ones, and she spent more and more time at his place. That same year, she welcomed a puppy into her life, a source of joy and companionship. During the holiday season, Shannon gathered with her family for a celebration filled with food, laughter, and gift exchanges. No one could have imagined that it would be the last time they would all be together. 2 months later, Shannon ran into her sister Debbie DePaul while with Arturo. Their conversation was brief, but they mentioned Debbie's upcoming birthday in March, for which Shannon had already begun planning. However, when the day arrived, Shannon never showed up, a surprising and uncharacteristic absence. At first, her family assumed she was simply busy and would join them later, but she never did. Even more concerning, she didn't call or send a message, not even to wish Debbie a happy birthday. When she also missed the Easter gathering the following month, alarm bells started ringing. As the weeks passed, her family's worry deepened. Repeated calls and messages went unanswered. Finally, Ronnie reached out to Arturo, who claimed that he and Shannon had broken up and that she had moved to Cleveland to be with someone else. However, when Ronnie and Debbie tried to contact her directly, they had no luck. Determined to find answers, they went to Shannon's apartment hoping for clues. What they found only raised more concerns. Her car and phone were still there, but there was no sign of her beloved dog. Meanwhile, around the same time, Arturo was arrested for drug-related charges. Shannon's family spent the following weeks consumed by fear and uncertainty. Then, in June, Debbie officially reported her disappearance to the police. In their report, family members acknowledged Shannon's past struggles with addiction, but emphasized that she had never gone this long without contacting them. Authorities urged anyone with information to come forward while they conducted their own investigation, searching through hospitals and jails, but there was no trace of Shannon anywhere. Tracking Shannon's whereabouts proved to be an incredibly difficult task for investigators, given that she had been missing for months. Still, they filed a request for her phone records while simultaneously delving into her personal life. Shannon's family mentioned that she often spent extended periods with her boyfriend before disappearing, prompting the police to speak with Arturo. However, he repeated the same story he had told Ronnie, adding another layer of complexity to the case. Without a concrete timeline for her disappearance, there was no way to verify Arturo's alibi. Moreover, there was no trace of the supposed new boyfriend Shannon had allegedly moved in with. As suspicions grew, detectives learned about an ex-boyfriend named John. Intrigued by the possibility of a lead, they decided to investigate him further. Besides running his own business, John had a criminal history tied to drug trafficking. In fact, his incarceration had been the catalyst for his breakup with Shannon, as her friends recalled the profound distress and disappointment she experienced upon learning of his conviction. To complicate matters, John had been released from prison shortly before Shannon was believed to have gone missing. When police located and interviewed him, he stated that he hadn't seen her since February, when she had mentioned rekindling her relationship with Arturo. His statement implied that things between Shannon and Arturo weren't as ideal as they seemed. Nevertheless, John admitted that he still had feelings for her at the time of that conversation. With two potential suspects but no solid evidence, the police needed a breakthrough. When Shannon's phone records finally arrived, investigators hoped they would provide a clear direction. However, they yielded little information, other than confirming that she had gone to work as usual in late February before her phone was abruptly turned off. The number had since been reassigned to someone else. Around the same time, all activity on her credit cards also ceased. The case remained at a frustrating dead end. Little did the investigators know, answers were coming, though in the most horrifying way imaginable. On July 30th, a man from the city of Youngstown called 911 to report a gruesome discovery. Over the phone, he revealed that human remains had been found inside black garbage bags, and, most disturbingly, the head was missing. Emergency responders immediately notified the police, who arrived at the home of the caller, a man named Kenny, and his wife, Jill. While forensic experts examined the remains, the couple was taken in for questioning. According to their accounts, the freezer containing the body parts belonged to a friend who had recently lost electricity in his home. A week earlier, he had asked them to store it in their basement, claiming it was filled with meat he didn't want to spoil. On July 29th, Jill decided to prepare spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. Assuming she could borrow some meat and replace it later, she went to the freezer, only to find it locked. She thought little of it. After all, their friend had always been a bit eccentric. Undeterred, she grabbed a screwdriver, removed the screws, and easily pried open the lock. But instead of the expected variety of frozen meat, she was met with piles of black garbage bags in a bucket, all exuding a putrid stench. A terrible feeling washed over her. She slammed the freezer shut and called her husband. When Kenny arrived, they cautiously opened one of the bags, making a shocking discovery: a severed human foot. Given that Kenny and Jill were questioned separately and their stories aligned perfectly, they were quickly cleared of suspicion. Instead, investigators turned their focus to the man who had left the freezer in their home. His name was Anthony Gonzalez. Kenny recounted meeting Anthony 4 years earlier through a mutual friend. They bonded over a shared interest in music. Anthony had audio equipment and had mentioned his desire to record rap songs. Although they occasionally hung out, Gene never considered him a close friend. He noted that Anthony was unpredictable and at times even aggressive. Despite the couple's cooperation, the true identity of the victim remained unknown. That changed when forensic experts examining the remains found a crucial clue: a scorpion tattoo on one of the feet. It matched the tattoo Shannon had on her foot, a reference to her zodiac sign. While further tests were necessary, it became increasingly clear that the body belonged to Shannon. Now, the investigators faced a daunting question: how and when had she ended up in that freezer? Shortly after, Ohio's lead prosecutor held a press conference to address the chilling case, which was quickly shaping up to be one of the most disturbing in recent history. Although the medical examiner couldn't determine the exact cause of death without the victim's head, Shannon's identity was confirmed through fingerprint analysis. Her family was devastated upon learning the fate of their beloved daughter and sister. Months after her disappearance, the grim reality was far worse than anything they had imagined. Despite their overwhelming grief, Shannon's loved ones came together to honor her memory with a candlelight vigil in a beautiful local park. Speaking to reporters, Debbie expressed her belief that Shannon's soul had found peace and that the event was meant to celebrate her life rather than dwell on sorrow. That evening, dozens of attendees lit candles and released lanterns into the sky, many of them wearing shirts with messages dedicated to Shannon. A close friend vowed to carry Shannon's spirit forward, refusing to let tragedy define her legacy. Although her family shared that sentiment, they could not hide their pain. Ronnie, too heartbroken to appear on camera, confided that his grief was indescribable. He had loved Shannon as his own daughter and now longed for justice. Meanwhile, investigators intensified their search for Anthony. It wasn't long before they uncovered a critical piece of information. Anthony Gonzalez was merely an alias. His true identity was someone they had already considered a suspect. As the investigation into Shannon's disappearance continued, new revelations surfaced rapidly. Authorities discovered that Arturo had been in a relationship with a woman named Katrina Layton, who moved into his home just 2 weeks after Shannon was last seen alive. Given Arturo's extensive criminal record, police wasted no time in pursuing him. Both he and Katrina were arrested, and their residence was thoroughly searched. Investigators found red stains on the walls, a knife, and a manual for the freezer where Shannon's remains had been discovered. Kenny, who had previously thought his friend's name was Anthony, was shocked to learn Arturo's real identity. He wasn't alone in his confusion, as Arturo frequently used aliases, possibly to conceal his past, which included activities linked to illicit substances. During questioning, Arturo remained calm and repeatedly denied any involvement in Shannon's death, claiming he had no knowledge of her whereabouts. He also distanced himself from the freezer. Katrina echoed his statements, but their denials unraveled when police found a key among her belongings that fit the freezer's lock. This discovery directly connected them to the crime, ensuring they remained in custody as the investigation progressed. Meanwhile, John, Shannon's ex-boyfriend, played a crucial role in uncovering more details. Through conversations with Shannon's acquaintances, he learned about a bonfire gathering attended by Arturo. According to a witness, Arturo had used the fire to burn personal belongings. When asked, he claimed the items were Shannon's clothes, and he was destroying them as revenge for supposed infidelity. That night, he was joined by a friend named Andrew Herman, and together they continued burning clothing. Investigators searched the location and found remnants of the fire, including a bracelet that belonged to Shannon. As the case unfolded, they contacted a woman familiar with Andrew and his wife Michelle. She revealed that Arturo and Katrina were responsible for Shannon's murder, while Andrew assisted in dismembering the body. According to the witness, Katrina had long despised Shannon out of jealousy, and that resentment was mutual. The case took an even more disturbing turn when neighbors reported seeing Katrina walking Shannon's dog and using her credit cards for small purchases around the neighborhood. It appeared she had taken over aspects of Shannon's life. In the midst of these developments, Ronnie passed away unexpectedly, never seeing justice served. Debbie, overwhelmed with grief, sought therapy while taking care of her younger brother and Shannon's beloved dog. Meanwhile, both Andrew and Michelle were placed in pretrial detention. Authorities had strong evidence that Michelle had threatened witnesses in an effort to obstruct the investigation and cover up the crime. As the case was presented to a grand jury, a clearer version of the events emerged. On February 24, 2017, Arturo killed Shannon, most likely in the presence of Katrina. Later, he invited Andrew over, and upon his arrival, Arturo requested his help in dismembering the body. The trio attempted to dissolve parts of Shannon's remains in sulfuric acid, but did not have enough to complete the process. They disposed of her head while storing other body parts in the freezer. Some remains were discarded in an unknown location that authorities have yet to uncover. According to the lead prosecutor, Arturo was nothing more than a petty drug dealer driven by jealousy over Shannon's financial stability, while Katrina wanted her gone to claim Arturo for herself. Facing the possibility of the death penalty, the four defendants eventually accepted plea deals. Arturo Novoa was sentenced to life in prison for Shannon's murder. Katrina Layton received an 18-year sentence. Andrew Herman was sentenced to 12 years, and Michelle was given 2.5 years, followed by a 6-month substance abuse program. Arturo later attempted to appeal his sentence, but the original ruling was upheld. Determined to keep Shannon's memory alive, Debbie created a social media page dedicated to her sister, regularly posting photos of her beloved dog. She often visits Shannon's grave, where she has developed a meaningful ritual. After trimming the grass, she spray paints a large pink heart beside the headstone, Shannon's favorite color. In a local interview conducted a few years later, Debbie recalled the moment she received the heartbreaking call about the partial discovery of Shannon's remains. However, it wasn't until the global health crisis, when she lost her job and found herself isolated at home, that the full weight of the tragedy truly hit her. With no distractions, she was forced to process the immense loss. Despite the pain, she eventually found solace in allowing herself to grieve. Today, The investigators who helped bring Arturo to justice continue searching for the missing portions of Shannon's remains. Debbie remains hopeful that they will one day be found, while keeping her sister's memory alive through her dedicated online tribute. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.